Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone has been in sales for about 35 years now. For me, at least, the only other people I'd really like to learn from are like Brian Tracy and Tom Hopkins. Grant has studied to a T. Grant's book, The Closer's Survival Guide, includes 100 different ways to close a deal. If you know 100 different ways to close a deal, and you and thousands of people have spent tens of thousands of hours practicing them and drilling and rehearsing each one, most of which, by the way, you probably to some degree came up with, there is something you have going on that most salespeople probably don't. This is another rare review of mine. It's not really a review. Not exactly. I'm not sure why that is, but I do know that most of my thoughts on Grant and his way of looking at things can be found in my other reviews of his books, and chances are my thoughts on this book specifically, you can find them scattered across those reviews. This is a little different. This video talks about a lot of my experience with applying the information in the book, and it's probably because I have a striking amount of it compared to other books, and that's because I've listened to the audio version without exaggeration at least 20 times. So if you're looking for an unbiased review, sorry man, you're not gonna find it here. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Samuel, and I wanna make self-growth normal. If you wanna make self-growth normal, because I don't wanna do it alone, then make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. As a salesperson, applying the knowledge in this book, especially the last quarter of it, has made me so much money and saved me from so much embarrassment and self-pity that you simply cannot put a price on. This book really will teach you that selling is not a bad thing, and that there is absolutely no way of getting what you want without some form of selling. Everything you do every day is done with the intent to influence a certain outcome, and if that outcome occurred, then you sold. But if it didn't, then you were sold to the other outcome. I checked this book out a little over a year ago when I got my first job in sales. I was setting, or I guess selling appointments for people to get in-home quotes on home projects, home and door replacements, patios, decks, roofs. It was door to door, which many people will say is the coldest, hardest form of sales you can do. And it taught me a lot about sales scripts and objections and body language, and I lost a lot of weight too. But as long as doors weren't being answered, as long as I was running or speed walking from house to house, I was listening to this audiobook or practicing lines in my head, so I knew exactly what to say and in what situation. Eventually I left the company. A big reason for it actually had to do with how sold I was on the company, and it took me some time to figure out what sells me on a company in which I'm doing sales. Now I sell appointments over the phone for people to stop by into a dealership and buy cars. That other company, the door-to-door, it's called canvassing, and their best salespeople started out with canvassing. Some of the highest hitting salespeople where I now work started out in my position. Side note, school does not teach you how to sell. This life skill that you can use to get what you want. It also doesn't teach you how to manage your finances, increase your net worth. It doesn't really teach you like effective communication. My dad is a doctor, and I bet you that they did not teach him in school how to convince people to consent to putting toxic chemicals in their body. Most important things they don't teach you in school just happen to make the world go round, like selling. And they just happen to be more than worth exploring. There are a lot of incredible things you can learn from school, but I don't think that that's worth discounting. Now, the reason these people started out canvassing or in BDC, Business Development Center, or as digital marketing expert Gary Vaynerchuk likes to call BizDev. The reason they started in that and they're so good at what they do now, why is that? Given what I learned from this book, I think it's that over time they grasped the ability to predict what's going to happen when they say what and to whom, and that gave them this tree of like responses they already have prepared for objections and complaints and stalls throughout the sales process. Like, let me think about it, or these payments are too high. Let me talk to my wife about it, or I have an unpredictable schedule. I don't know when I'm gonna be able to make it there. And that helped them grasp everything else. But according to Grant Cardone, Uncle GC, as many of his followers, many of us call him, commitment is the one thing that separates pros from amateurs. But you can't develop that framework without staying committed. Before I started reaching out to the customers on the phone, they had me doing like weeks courses about vehicles and customer service, and I took 80 pages of Google Docs notes in the process. Someone said it looked like I was typing computer code. And every person in my position who I was heard of who was let go every person, by the way, who was promoted is now amazing at sales. It was because of production. I've done this for about a year, and I make mistakes and learn things that a typical person learns maybe their first few months. I care a lot more about moving fast and improving my approach over time than just sitting there waiting for something to happen and knowing how to do my job. I hadn't heard about the 90-day phenomenon in any other book, where you're on fire for 90 days and then you flatline. Why is that? I'll just say here that it's in the book, but it tends to involve ethics. He also talks about buying what you sell. When you use what you sell, it's a lot easier to overcome objections that most salespeople struggle with. Grant told a story of someone who did this and their income quadrupled. But the most important sale, and you'll hear this in a lot of different sales books, I'm pretty sure, is selling yourself to yourself. Becoming so convinced in yourself and your company, your product, your service, your ideas, and your dreams that it would be a terrible thing, a drastic, detrimental thing to life if your customer decided not to do business with you. Or to do business anywhere else wouldn't be just foolish, but criminal. This may sound crazy, but when a customer will shop for price, the lowest price, what they really want is value. Even during tough economic times, even when over 430,000 people are going to die and we have to stay inside and shop online for 6 weeks, people buy products and services to solve problems and fill voids. And when value exceeds price, price is no longer an issue. The dealer I work at, there's a vehicle right now that we've sold hundreds of. And the popularity of this vehicle is so insane that people are happily paying as high as $15,000. 15 above MSRP, manufacturer's standard recommended price, big words. MSRP is basically how much the car manufacturer recommends that we charge. A lot of dealers charge MSRP for a lot of vehicles, but this one's it's just different for some reason. We're one of the only dealers in the area who only charges MSRP, but because of that, we have to order the vehicle. And the orders are backed up like 8 to 9 months. The vehicle's demand so far exceeds the supply, and we've never seen anything like it. In terms of like a big purchase, this is the closest thing I've ever heard of to a product that sells itself. I'm not even in straight up sales yet. And guess what? I've sold 3 of them. Someday I intend to make a video telling the full story, but the story is still happening. And 2 years after it first hit the lots, the hype has not died down. This part stood out, and it almost makes you appreciate how much there is out there. Take a look at the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic or whatever ocean you're closest to. Go look at it and observe the infinite amount of energy being created there. The Pacific Ocean never stops. Go out there and get as many buckets of water as you want. How many buckets can you take? If you took as many buckets as you wanted, would anyone even notice you took a bucket out? No. Look at how much money is in the marketplace. How many people own homes, cars, pay telephones, just counting cars. $30,000, $10,000, $14,000, count them. Imagine how many phone bills are processed every month. Electric bills, water bills, how many people buy clothes and food every day, how many Visa card charges every minute of every day. There are endless amounts of money on this planet. And if we ever run out, I promise they will go and print more and drop it out of planes if necessary. Didn't they do that like twice last year? We weren't even running out of it, were we? If you think we were, I'd say this book is worth some stimulus money. The chapter, You Are in the People Business, it's really for the salespeople and managers who care more about products and processes than customers. Later in the book, anecdotes of people business and excellent service are laid out like, I don't know, new construction plans or something. But in this book, their antitheses are highlighted, where people put products and processes before other people. Whatever business you're in, the car business, the real estate business, the e-commerce business, the technology business, it is the people business. And denying that instead of embracing it is only gonna hurt you. Being introverted, by the way, is no excuse not to do this, but that's a different video topic. In The Magic of Agreement, I've gotten so used to agreeing with people that I now find it difficult not to agree with people. By people, I don't even mean just customers. I mean colleagues, superiors, my family, my girlfriend, her family, and you guys. I make it my mission every day to never tell someone they're wrong. I don't know about you, but I don't like being told that I'm wrong. People like being agreed with. People like being understood. It makes you a more likable person. The most profitable salespeople I've met are easily the most likable. The next few chapters are just, again, things to keep in mind that can make you more money and save you from so much embarrassment and self-pity. By the way, those stories I was talking about, those all really begin to animate themselves from this point forward. Like the next chapter is all about credibility and showing people things instead of telling them things. The chapter Give is about like incredible, like unreal customer service, and why, for example, people are willing to pay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to spend a night or two at a hotel like the Ritz-Carlton. The next chapter is the hard sell. The hard sell is where one side is going to feel pressured, the customer, and the other, the salesperson, needs to stay calm and convinced and sold in order to bring the customer to the close. The hard sell is when you take advantage of the moment, which makes both parties sold, not just one, and it requires an ability to move through all the resistance that's thrown at you. I feel like this is the hardest part of the sales process for a lot of people, because a lot of people are taught from a young age that pressure is awful, and we have to avoid it at all costs. Literally at all costs. But this is not pressure. This is enthusiasm. It's passion. It can be anything, but it's really just whatever you need to make the sale in the moment. Actually, I think sold from a young age is a better word than taught. But we have to sell ourselves otherwise. The next chapter is called Massive Action, and if you've heard or read this chapter and want more information just like it, check out the 10x rule. The next chapter is called the Power Base. It focuses on the definition of a power base and the importance of maintaining or working it, as Grant says. Power base is basically a bougie way of saying network. For me, a recent example of customer service. My girlfriend and I ordered pizza from this place, Mod Pizza. Their make-your-own pizza options are surreal. There's so many of them. When I get there to pick it up, I tell them it's a mobile order for Samuel, and the guy had this nervous look on his face. I could see it through his mask. So he said, "Here, 1 second," and he brought this kid up. And the kid was like, "I'm sorry, sir, we made one pizza. Here it is. We're gonna make the other one right now. We're gonna give you a thick crust for free," which is like a $4 option or something like that. I was just thinking, wow. And then he said, "We're also gonna bring it to your car. Is it the blue one over there?" Unbelievable. They brought us the pizza in the car like 2 minutes later, after I walked out the door, in January, by the way. That is initiative like I've never seen in Easton, Pennsylvania, okay? And I still kick myself for not asking this kid his name and giving him all the change in my car as a tip. Another chapter is about time and time management. And the next chapter is called Attitude, about attitude and attitude management. Let me tell you, I work with a salesperson who is easily one of the most charismatic people I've ever met. She is impossible to hate. People get angry when they can get in touch with her because she's always with customers. What happens to those people? Well, they eventually get call after call from me until the situation is rectified. But her attitude, when I think of how I want to learn and treat customers, I look no further. I've described her attitude when it comes to customer service by saying that if this whole time she thought that instead of selling new and pre-owned cars and trucks, we were selling empty Heinz ketchup bottles, she would still be like top 3 or 4 every month. The next chapter, the biggest sale of my life. This is the story of winning over his wife in a period of, what was it, like 1 or 2 years? With this serious salesman's perspective. The objections, the stalls, like it's very real. But if you look into pickup artistry, for example, so much of it is just selling. So much of going on dates is getting numbers, setting appointments, staying with the same person is constantly selling yourself and them on your relationship with them. But this chapter is a stunning example of it all. It's an example of not being creepy either. You hear so many stories nowadays of like, "Oh my god, this guy won't stop messaging me. He's so annoying." Not to say that those aren't true. I'm pretty sure they're very true. But you don't hear that about guys who message the girl every 2 weeks. And the messages are like, they're upbeat, they're positive, they're not cringe or annoying or anything like that. Talking to her friends about why she isn't interested, it's kind of insane, but it takes one to make two. Love doesn't have to be both people at first. The perfect sales process, as Grant describes it, where I work does basically and very fundamentally this. And it's funny because I was told that we don't use this system. The thing is, greeting the customer, assessing their needs and wants, selecting a product and presenting value, making a proposal, then closing the deal is something I'm pretty sure every salesperson does. Something tells me though that a lot of salespeople suck at it, but this chapter tells you how not to. In sales training tips, certain tips here, like considering how much missed sales are costing you every day, week, month, and year, maybe decade if necessary. What else? Practice, drill, and rehearse is probably the most profitable thing I learned from this book. Practicing what you say to each objection until you can feel it in your bones. You can just say it without having to think about what it is. It honestly makes sales so much easier and effortless. Practicing on your customers is costing you sales. It's better to spend as much free time or time at work not in front of customers, just practicing 1 or 2 different lines. Often it's 1 or 2 different lines that are costing you a landslide of sales. When you start overcoming those, you're gonna feel amazing about yourself. The next chapter is quick tips to conquer the biggest challenges of selling. Aside from practice, drill, and rehearse, this was easily, for me, the best part of the whole book. The audiobook for this chapter has this 3-hour-long chunk of perspectives on different obstacles everyone seems to have some sort of problems with in selling. Let me know in the comments which of these, by the way, you have the biggest problems with. Rejection, negative surroundings, discipline, the economy, competition, product knowledge, follow-up, organization, call reluctance, filling the pipeline, closing the deal, calls not returned, fear, people's emotions, negative sales connotations, not having the right response, overwhelmed by customer objections, feeling like an idiot, meeting new people, breaking the ice, staying motivated, starting over with new clients, losing business to others, lack of consistency, cold calling and prospecting, commission only / no security, and long hours. When I started working where I work, what I did was I took notes of the ones on that list that I had the biggest problems with. I wrote down on little notepad pages, 1 page per topic, and each page had bullet points saying what he said that stood out the most. And I put all the pages up on my cubicle window, and I can take a look at them whenever I'm having trouble with them. And that helps me so much. And I did that a year ago, and I still have them on my cubicle window, and I still look at them from time to time. For me, this book was a game changer with sales, and there's absolutely no way around it. Quotes, real jobs don't pay real money. He sounded like a salesman, but not a sold man. Salespeople stop sales. Customers don't. You can't save your way to being a millionaire, but you can sell your way to being a millionaire. If you can't advertise any part of your sales process, what are you thinking? I'm not altering my personality. I'm altering my presentation based on their wants and needs. If you're not following up, the CRM is not going to do it for you. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. It's like this system that you can kind of use to interact with customers online. In the book, Grant says that CRMs are only as good as the people who are using them. The only people who don't want more are the people who don't have enough to find out when it's way too late. Direction 1. I recommend this book for people just getting into sales or thinking of getting into sales, which you should, especially if you're younger, because then you have more time, times on your side, because there really is a wealth of beginner's knowledge, and even the masters are always going over the basics. The last 3 hours of this audiobook are more than enough of a reason, in my opinion, to get the book about the greatest challenges of selling and how to overcome them. Direction 2. If you like this book and you're really looking to get into some more technical work by Grant Cardone on sales, you just might fall in love with Closer's Survival Guide. It contains over 100 ways to close a deal. It's some very out-of-the-box material. How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom Hopkins and The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. These are also amazing. If you're looking for something more fundamental, these authors both strongly influenced Grant Cardone as a salesperson. Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video, if you want to check those out too. If you guys buy anything through the links in the description, then I get commissioned, which helps me build this channel, keep making these videos. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe, but if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.